Fight night, Sergio Pettis versus Brandon Moreno. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Alvaro Herrera versus Jordan Rinaldi. And to me, Alvaro Herrera is pretty much just a striker. I don't think he's that great anywhere. He's like 8-4, and he's got lost by knockout TKO. To me, Jordan Rinaldi, his record's like 12-5, and he's fought really good people. He's got a win over Dennis Bermudez. He just lost a really close split decision in his UFC debut against Abel Trujillo. And to me, he looks like a really strong wrestler with decent striking and good jiu-jitsu. I feel like he should be able to get this fight to the ground and just beat Alvaro up and probably get either a decision or a finish. Next is Joseph Morales versus Roberto Sanchez. And to me, Joseph Morales just looks like the better fighter overall. I think they're both primarily grapplers, but Joseph Morales has the better striking. I also think he's a little bit better of a wrestler. Like I said, they're both more like submission guys, but if I had to pick the more well-rounded guy, and the guy I think more likely is going to win, is probably Joseph Morales. Next is Jose Alberto versus Diego Rivas. And to me, Diego Rivas is not that good. He's 2-0 in the UFC and he's 7-0 overall, but both those fights were fights where his first fight I thought he lost. He won by a really close split decision. And then the second fight he was getting his ass kicked, and then he just flew a flying knee and won by knockout. But I mean, he was losing that whole fight, and then he just came out in the second round and landed that flying knee. To me, Jose Alberto looks really, really good. I mean, I think he's only got one loss. It was in the Ultimate Fighter finale. I think he's won 2 or 3 in a row since then. I think he's like 6-1 or 5-1. To me, he's really well-rounded. I think, he's got good striking, good grappling. And, he hasn't fought in a while. Hopefully, he isn't too rusty. And I feel like if he isn't too rusty, Jose Alberto should be able to win this fight with like a submission on the ground. Next is Henry Briones versus Ronnie Yaya. And to me, Henry Briones is pretty good. I feel like if he could keep this fight standing, he should be able to win pretty easily. But I don't think he's got the takedown defense to keep up with Ronnie Yaya. I feel like Yaya will be able to get a hold of him and take him down repeatedly. And I think sooner or later, Yaya is going to win by submission. I just think there's too big of a grappling advantage for Yaya in this fight. Next is Dustin Ortiz versus Hector Sandoval. And Hector Sandoval, to me, is just this guy. He's like a wrestler with a little bit of skills everywhere. To me, Dustin Ortiz is really good. That fight with Brandon Moreno, I mean, he was winning the first 8 minutes straight of that fight. Up until he got caught with that head kick, he was dominating that fight. If he didn't get caught with that head kick, I think he would have won that decision pretty easily. Like I said, I think Dustin Ortiz is still a top 15 guy. I think these guys honestly have the exact same style. I just think Dustin Ortiz is better at everything. I think his striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu are all just a little bit better than Hector Sandoval's, and I think he's just going to edge him out every round and win by decision. The decision for Dustin Ortiz. Next is Brad Scott versus Jack Hermansson, and to me, Brad's a little bit better of a striker, but I think Hermansson's a little bit better of a grappler overall. It kind of just depends who can keep the fight where. With Brad Scott, he's really inconsistent. I mean, he'll win one and lose one, and a lot of his fights are really close. To me, Jack Hermansson's biggest weakness is just, if he's on his back, I don't think he's that great. But I don't think Scott's got the wrestling to take him down. So I just feel like Jack's going to be able to edge Scott out in the rounds with his wrestling. Like, he'll hold him against the fence if he needs to and just beat him up a little bit. And I think Hermansson's just going to win kind of a boring decision. Next, we got Sam Alvey versus Rashad Evans. And to me, Rashad has not looked good in a long time. I feel like Sam Alvey's biggest weakness is just that he doesn't throw enough strikes in a fight. And, I mean, Rashad could take advantage of that. But for the same thing with Rashad, Rashad has not been throwing a lot of strikes recently. And I feel like he isn't using his reach and speed as much. I feel like when he's striking, he's getting too close to guys. And if he's going to be trading that close with Sam Alvey, I think Sam Alvey's going to clip him. I think Sam Alvey's takedown defense is really, really good too. So I think that he should be able to stuff the takedowns. And once they're in close, I feel like Sam Alvey's power is going to be the big difference. I think Sam Alvey's eventually going to catch him with something and win by knockout. Next is Martin Bravo versus Herberto Bendeni. And Herberto looks like he's just okay. I feel like they're kind of just feeding a guy to Martin Bravo. I felt like Martin Bravo was the best fighter that season. I think he's a really solid-looking prospect. He hasn't fought since that season, so it's been probably close to a year, maybe 8 months. But when I saw him on the show, he looked like a young Diego Sanchez. You know what I mean? Like, in his prime. Like, when Diego Sanchez's striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu were all on point. So Martin Bravo, to me, looks like a really strong prospect at this point, and I'm going to pick him to win by TKO. Next is Alan Jouban versus Nico Price, and to me, Nico Price isn't that great. I felt like in his last fight, he was getting the shit kicked out of him that whole fight up until he caught the guy. To me, Alan Jouban is just as good as the guy that was beating Nico Price, but I think he's more solid with his technique overall. I also think he hits a little bit harder than the guy Nico Price is. I think it was Brandon Moreno or something like that. Brandon Moreno fights a lot like Alan Jouban, but I think Alan Jouban is just better at everything. I think he's faster, cleaner with his striking, and hits a little bit harder. And I think it's going to be the same fight, except for he's not going to get caught. I think Alan Jouban is just going to beat the shit out of Nico Price until he eventually knocks him out. Next is Ronda Marcos versus Alexa Grasso. And Alexa Grasso is a pretty good striker. She's probably a better striker than Marcos is overall. But I feel like Marcos should be able to hit the takedowns when she wants. And when this fight's on the ground, I think Ronda's going to have a big advantage. I mean, if Alexa's really worked on her takedown defense, she should be able to outstrike her for the 3 rounds and just win a decision, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ronda's going to hit takedowns in the fight, and I don't know if she'll get a submission, but I think she should be able to get at the least a decision win. But like I said, you never know. I think that may be a late submission for Ronda. Finally, we have Sergio Pettis versus Brandon Moreno, and to me, Sergio Pettis is not that impressive. I've said it a bunch of times. He can't finish people. I don't feel like his grappling is anywhere near the level of Brandon Moreno's is either. I feel like his striking is probably a little bit better, but Brandon Moreno's got the speed to kind of... I think he's faster than Pettis. I think Pettis is just a cleaner striker overall. But like I said, I feel like if Brandon Moreno takes this fight to the ground, he's way better than him. I think this fight's going to be like that fight that just happened between... what's their faces? Those 2 jiu-jitsu guys. That fight that I thought was going to be shit was really, really good. What's their names? Brian Ortega and I can't remember the other guy's name, but I feel it's gonna be like that. I think they're gonna be striking. Pettis is gonna be winning a little bit, and then once this fight hits the ground, Moreno's gonna take over and win by submission. I think it's gonna be exactly like that fight that just happened last week between Brian Ortega and the other guy. It'll probably be a little bit faster, and maybe not as many strikes are gonna land, but I think it might be just as good of a fight. But once again, sooner or later, Moreno's going to get this to ground, and he's going to win by like rear naked choke or something. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.